जय माता चरणं शरणं जमाम्बिगे चरणं शरणं त्र्यम्बके. Throughout the historical evolution of Indian spiritual thought, seeker philosophers have often debated the relative supremacy of Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, and Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. Scholars inclined toward abstract intellectualism have frequently portrayed Jnana as the apex of spiritual realization, regarding Bhakti merely as a preliminary step designed for emotional minds. Conversely, ardent devotees have often viewed cold intellectual discrimination as an obstacle to the tender, intimate love required for divine realization. This perceived conflict creates an artificial dichotomy that fragments human consciousness, leaving the intellect dry and the heart undisciplined. The Bhagavad Gita and the life teachings of Divine Mother Sri Rama Devi dismantle this false division entirely. In their unified vision, Bhakti and Jnana are not two divergent roads leading to different destinations, nor are they mutually exclusive disciplines. They are two wings of a single bird soaring into the expanse of supreme reality. Jnana without bhakti risks becoming sterile intellectual pride, while bhakti without jnana can degenerate into emotional sentimentality of dogmatic fanaticism. Through a deep synthesis of Bhagavan Sri Krishna's immortal discourse to Arjuna and Sri Ramadevi Amma's practical, heart-centered guidance, we can explore how devotion clarifies knowledge and how knowledge deepens devotion, transforming human life into a sanctuary of divine oneness. To appreciate their ultimate synthesis, one must first understand the true nature of Jnana and Bhakti as presented in Sanatana Dharma. Jnana is not the accumulation of spiritual information or philosophical debate. In the Vedantic tradition, Jnana is direct, unshakable experiential awareness of the ultimate truth, Brahman. It is the piercing realization that the individual soul, Jiva, is not different from the supreme consciousness, Atman. Jnana destroys the primordial ignorance, avidya, that binds the soul to body consciousness, ego, and the illusion of duality. Similarly, bhakti is not mere emotional excitement, ritualistic routine, or superficial pleading for worldly favors. As defined by sage Narada in the Bhakti Sutra, bhakti is supreme, undivided love directed towards the divine. It is the total alignment of the heart's emotional energy towards the ultimate reality, characterized by complete self-surrender and the melting of the individual ego into the ocean of divine love. When these two streams converge in human consciousness, the intellectual discrimination becomes infused with sweet devotion, and emotional surrender becomes grounded in unwavering truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna not as a forest-dwelling ascetic, but as a man standing amidst the chaos, confusion, and duty of the battlefield. The Gita's structural architecture seamlessly weaves Jnana and Bhakti into an integrated spiritual lifestyle. In chapter 7, verse 16, Sri Krishna classifies seekers who approach him into four categories: the distressed, the seeker of wealth, the seeker of knowledge, and the wise one. In the very next verse, Sri Krishna declares that of these, the wise one, who is constantly established in union with him and possesses single-minded devotion, is paramount, for he is exceedingly dear to the Lord, and the Lord is dear to him. This teaching shatters the distinction between the philosopher and the devotee. The true jnani does not stop at intellectual comprehension because he perceives God as the innermost essence of all existence. His devotion becomes absolute, unwavering, and single-minded. Knowledge does not diminish his love. It elevates love from a personal, conditional emotion to an infinite, unconditioned reality. When Arjuna asks in chapter 12 whether it is better to worship God in the unmanifest, formless aspect or the manifest, personal aspect, Sri Krishna clarifies that while meditating on the unmanifest is exceedingly difficult for body-bound human beings, those who worship the divine with steadfast faith and devotion are swiftly rescued from the ocean of worldly existence. Furthermore, in the final chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna describes the ultimate sequence of liberation. Becoming one with Brahman, serene in self, the seeker neither grieves nor desires, and regarding all beings equally, he attains supreme devotion into the divine. Through devotion, he comes to know God in truth, who and what he is, and knowing God in truth, he forthwith enters into him. Here the Gita reveals an astounding truth. Supreme devotion, para bhakti, is not merely a means to knowledge but the very crown of Advaitic realization. Once a seeker attains the state of Brahman consciousness, they do not become a cold stone. Rather, they radiate the highest form of divine love, recognizing the whole universe as the living embodiment of the Supreme Lord. Divine Mother Sri Rama Devi brought the lofty transcendental truths of the Bhagavad Gita into the heart of everyday domestic life. She demonstrated that one does not need to retire to mountain caves or abandon familial responsibilities to achieve supreme spiritual realization. For Amma, the household was the ideal laboratory for synthesizing bhakti and jnana. Amma taught that the human mind cannot perceive the light of jnana as long as it is clouded by selfish desires, emotional turbulence, and the delusion of ego. Bhakti acts as the purifying fire that cleanses the heart. When a seeker chants the divine name, surrenders their anxieties to the Divine Mother, and performs daily duties as sacred service, the emotional energy of the mind is quieted and sublimated. Once the heart is purified through bhakti, the seeds of jnana take root naturally. The seeker no longer struggles to understand abstract philosophy because a pure heart possesses intuitive clarity. Amma frequently stated that devotion is the sweetness of wisdom, and wisdom is the strength of devotion. The greatest obstacle to spiritual liberation in both jnana and bhakti traditions is the ego's persistent belief that one is the body, the doer, and the enjoyer. The path of jnana attacks this illusion through keen intellect, analyzing that one is not this perishable body, nor the fluctuating mind, but the immortal, actionless witness consciousness. The path of bhakti attacks the same illusion through total surrender, declaring that nothing belongs to the individual and that the Divine Mother is the only doer. Amma synthesized these two approaches seamlessly. She guided devotees to perform every household chore with the surrender of a loving child, while remaining internally detached as the silent, unattached witness of all actions. In this way, daily work ceases to be a source of worldly bondage and transforms into dynamic karma yoga infused with devotion and wisdom. The human psychological apparatus consists of thought, emotion, and action, and a holistic spiritual path must address and refine all three dimensions. If a seeker focuses exclusively on intellectual discrimination, the emotional dimension remains unrefined, often manifesting as subtle pride, coldness, or cynicism. If a seeker focuses exclusively on emotional expression, the intellectual dimension remains unsharpened, making the seeker vulnerable to blind belief, superstition, and emotional dependency. When bhakti and jnana are cultivated together, a profound psychological transformation occurs. Jnana exposes the finite, impermanent nature of worldly objects, neutralizing the mind's cravings, while bhakti channels the heart's capacity for love towards the infinite, providing supreme inner fulfillment. Jnana removes the fear of death and suffering by establishing identity with the immortal self, while bhakti removes anxiety by establishing absolute trust in the protective, loving grace of the Divine Mother. The Bhagavad Gita defines yoga as equanimity, the combination of knowledge which perceives the same divine reality in all, and devotion which loves all beings as mother's children, produces unbreakable peace amidst life's dualities. As the highest peak of spiritual realization, the distinction between the seeker, the path, and the goal vanishes entirely. In this state of non-dual realization, bhakti and jnana merge into an indivisible state of being. In the early stages of spiritual practice, the devotee views God as a separate personal deity to be loved and worshipped. As devotion deepens under the light of jnana, the boundaries of the individual self dissolve. The devotee realizes that the Divine Mother whom they worshipped externally is the very soul of their soul, the underlying reality of the entire cosmos. Divine Mother Sri Rama Devi embodied this supreme non-dual devotion. She taught that true devotion does not keep God at a distance. True devotion leads to absolute identity with the divine. When the ego melts completely in the fire of divine love, what remains is the boundless eternal consciousness of Brahman. At this level, the jnani's perception of universal unity becomes the bhakta's experience of universal love, and the bhakta's complete surrender to God becomes the jnani's realization of non-doership. Thus, bhakti is the practical experiential expression of jnana, and jnana is the philosophical foundation of true bhakti. The modern world is characterized by hyper-intellectualism, emotional restlessness, and deep spiritual isolation. In an age dominated by material distraction and mental anxiety, the synthesis of bhakti and jnana offered by the Bhagavad Gita and Divine Mother Sri Rama Devi is a vital beacon of light. Spirituality is not an escape from life, but the art of living fully in divine awareness. By engaging the intellect in sharp discrimination and filling the heart with unreserved love and surrender, human beings can transcend the trials of worldly existence. As demonstrated by Amma and taught by Bhagavan Sri Krishna, when knowledge and devotion are united in daily practice, every thought becomes a prayer, every duty becomes a sacred offering, and every moment reveals the radiant, blissful presence of the Divine Mother. Charanam Sharanam Ramambige, Charanam Sharanam Trayambage. Jai Mata.